It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 345. Tonight I'm joined by Emo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hi.
Kodra.
Hello.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
What week is it again?
I don't know. I had to quickly look at the previous card because apparently I didn't put a date up on that one because it is oh so wrong. So we've not recorded for 2 weeks in a row, and it is entirely my fault because some stuff has happened and my life has kind of fallen apart. I have worked every day since the 3rd of May.
Have you gotten rid of the gremlins yet?
We're in process.
Okay.
I've been averaging 10, 11 hours a day.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it's miserable. In fact, I was off a call like a few minutes before joining the server. So I think I have put that to bed, and I'm not going to get a call in the middle of the show. But yeah, it is entirely my fault. And the problem is, even if everyone recorded without me, I am also the one who edits things and posts things, and I don't know when that would have happened. But yeah, like I am sort of available today, and I'm really hoping I don't fall asleep in the middle of the show.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I feel like a whole bunch of things have happened, but
I was going to say, I'm not gonna try to one up your incredibly awful work story, but
everyone's moved.
I have also been busy.
People decided to move too, so yeah.
The pandemic's ending, and I've decided I don't want to be in this space anymore.
That makes sense.
I am double vaxxed and 2 weeks past the cooldown, so...
Can I tell you how freaking weird that aspect has been? Because I've been remote for over a year now, and at the drop of a hat, because a crisis is brewing, I've had to not only go into the office, but shift to being like in the office for 12 hours at a time.
Oh, that seems awful.
Gosh.
It is, and everyone is in there now. And also, all of the mask mandates repealed, so no one wears masks. Thankfully, we're all vaccinated.
Okay.
Yeah. The timing on that just... But yeah, we actually went to a place like last weekend for the first time since all this started, and that was nice being somewhere else, and we did it right before the mask bans went away, so apparently our timing was perfect.
There was a certain measure of novelty of seeing other human beings for a few days, and I'm over that now. I'm so thoroughly over other human beings. I want to return to my cat coworkers. Although it was nice to eat some work lunches, that was fine. I went to 3 lunches with 3 different sets of people, and then I was done.
I feel like you're having a very different reaction to the mask mandate going away than we are. Again, this might be just
it's a regional thing. Yeah.
It's a regional thing, but like we're still in the so yes, technically the guidance has shifted, but still when we go into the office, our guidance is still like one person in a conference room at a time, which kind of makes the whole point of going into the office very questionable.
Right. Mm-hmm. That was the thing we were dealing with for the longest time. It's like, okay, well, if we're all just going to be on Teams, why the hell are we going into the office at all? Because it's real awkward to have every cube be on a different conference call.
Yes.
But like, I live in a part of the world, and I think Phelan's is a little bit better, but we're in similar parts of the world.
Only marginally.
And back when there was a mask mandate, maybe 50% of the people were wearing masks. Now that the mask mandate went away, I maybe see 1 or 2 people wearing masks ever.
It's a little better than that here. I am in pretty much the most liberal pocket of my state, which, isn't saying that much, but still, I went and got a haircut today, and I sure saw a lot more people not wearing masks than wearing masks on my way to and from. So yeah,
it's been a weird adjustment. So one of the topics that I threw on the list some months ago, I don't know when I did. I don't know what time is right now.
It is an illusion.
So there is a phrase that will mean something to some people, and it won't mean a damn thing to anybody else. But must-see television.
Yes.
That was a thing that NPC did during the Seinfeld Friends era.
Like the 80s and 90s.
But at that point, television shows were more of a destination than they've been for a very long time. Yeah. And I get, there's people who are super into specific reality television shows, but they don't really have, wide-reaching influence. They're not as wide-reaching influence as, watching some event that, back in the day, even miniseries used to be big events.
Oh yeah,
but I feel like we're entering this new era of destination television.
It's not television.
Because everyone I know is watching The Mandalorian, or Scarlet or WandaVision, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's not just geeks only watching these things. Everybody's talking about them.
I mean, Game of Thrones was like that. Well, admittedly, I didn't watch it.
I mean, it was like that.
And Walking Dead had some time where it was like that too.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem as big as it does now.
So I think that what happened was stuff like, there's been this progression that I've been kind of watching, where I think it's the initial successes on HBO basically unlocked bankrolling for streaming service original programming. Because it was hey, previously we had this fairly episodic content, and there's this appetite for things, for longer form narratives, but that are as compelling as Hollywood movies. And we saw people get this appetite for, it's the reason, arguably it's the reason that reality TV took off in the sitcom era, because everything in the late 90s, early 2000s was Monster of the Week, disconnected episodic stuff for the most part, with the occasional 2-parter.
Yeah, the very first one of those things that I can remember being huge was Sopranos.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
that was the thing that everybody was talking about. But it was still chained to a premium channel that you had to have cable for. Uh-huh. It wasn't as easy to watch. Breaking Bad was similarly huge for normal cable. But I feel like we've got this progression. So cable television did this thing to decouple the viewers from network television. And then Netflix came along and decoupled people from a cable service per se.
Yeah.
But Netflix's binge model, while great for mass consumption of shows, it doesn't exactly lend itself to an event. Other than there's a handful of people who will binge all of a series the day it comes out, and then they all want to talk about it and or ruin it for everyone else.
Well, whereas up until recently, with Netflix making their own shows, they weren't. it's still relatively recently that, Netflix originals became a thing. And like even then I don't like know to what degree they were like really publicizing like doing massive publicity on this show is dropping on this day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think Hulu's the first to really start to mess with that model of binge everything, because they started releasing shows like one episode a week, but it didn't feel as big of a premiere thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Disney's come along and taken all of this stuff that they've learned from other people, and they've created Friday nights as the day the show drops. And it's not Friday nights, it's like Friday... Thursday midnight.
Yeah, we're back to appointment programming, but if you don't
have to be present at that time to watch it. As it turns out,
if you don't make the appointment, you can watch it the next day or the next week or whatever. You can catch up. Like it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, well, and it also does the thing where I've heard a bunch of people get really mad about like I can't watch the entire show. I know they have it done, but they're dripping it out. But it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like that model is actually better for most people.
Yeah.
It's better for discourse too.
Yeah. Because you get what would be water cooler conversation. You get people talking about the episode without having to worry about, did somebody binge the whole thing? Am I going to spoil anything? Like, because it's parceled out, you can have the conversation. And because you have the conversation, word of mouth spreads, more people watch.
Well, and it's also like impossible to build tension or have moments of theory crafting when a second later you're going to watch the next episode.
Yeah, I was about to say like fan theories are back because there's actually time for people to develop them and put them out and for the ideas to spread. Like in general, I don't watch the Marvel Star Wars shows on Fridays usually. I will almost always watch them Saturday morning while I'm eating breakfast. And then immediately following that, roll in to watch one or two of my favorite YouTube commentary channels to pick up the things that I didn't notice. So like it's this whole thing for me. Like I watch the show and then I turn around and I watch a couple people comment about the show and consume it as this entire block of content.
And I think it's more likely that people check out of engaging with the show when they have like what feels like a huge amount of catch up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you got like, even 10 1-hour episodes, like just drop all at once. Well, that's
a lot of content to watch.
And it does feel like more of a climb.
It also helps Disney to not have these big sporadic bursts of like everyone's gonna binge all of your content and then be like, okay, well, what am I watching on this?
Yeah, and I'm sure that's part of Disney's thinking is this is a way to keep people subscribing because there's new stuff coming out on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of what I was getting at with the better for everyone, because it keeps people subscribed longer, which is obviously good for the business. But it also it's like a thing that's better for the business that isn't just bad for people straight up.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen often. Like that time is useful.
Yeah. Like, I mean, my boss, for example, and we talk about our media consumption on the regular, he and his wife will like subscribe to Hulu and consume a bunch of stuff on Hulu, cancel Hulu, subscribe to Netflix, consume a bunch of stuff on Netflix. So that they don't usually have one ever running permanently, but they do now because of Disney Plus. Because there's rarely enough of a space between these shows coming out that it's worth canceling. There's another one just around the corner.
Yeah, like right now is the longest, we actually have a gap in between Marvel stuff, but it's only
right, but we've got Bad Batch.
Yeah, and assuming you want Star Wars, well, that's happening right now, so,
And the Filoniverse is the best of Star Wars. It's just been interesting to watch this and think about it, because like I'm way more likely to say, okay, I will watch a single show every week now than I was to sit down and binge. Because like it does feel like it is an effort to carve out enough time to really sit down and catch up.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I just, like, this past, I guess, week before last, finally sat down and watched Lower Decks. And that's only like 10 half-hour episodes that I've had access to for a while now. But still, it's 10 episodes of TV.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to just, watch one and the next week. Oh, here's a new one. Watch it. It's easier to make time for. And it's easier to for it to become a habit, which again is good for the producers of this stuff. They want it to become a habit. That was the whole point of must-see TV.
Well, I mean, and also building it in as a habit means that more people actually watch it all.
Yeah.
So you're not running into the thing where it's like, hey, 7 episodes in, let's just wrap it up because our viewership is dropping.
I do kind of like that Disney has adopted this BBC-esque model of like a show having a relatively low number of episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was weird to wrap my head around it, but like that's how shows come out on the BBC. So, sure.
I think that there was a huge surge a few years back in both BBC shows and anime, which are both in that model. Mm-hmm. Like, there's this huge appetite for longer form, like I was saying, longer form narratives, and like people seem more tired of reality shows because they've kind of gone through the same circles. But like there was sort of the original, like stuff like Survivor, like who's gonna make it to the end, is like a running narrative for a show. But I think people figured out how to do movie quality stuff. I was talking about Discovery a little bit ways back, and I'm now through the end of season 2, and it's like it's a super solid arc. It's got great quality effects. It's like, what if a Star Trek movie went on for 2 seasons, and it's good stuff.
Well, and I think that's something interesting that's happening too, is once upon a time, a TV show had a certain number of episodes that it had to have in order for you to go into syndication. And that was the ultimate goal of a show, is to get syndication money. But now it's less so.
Oh yeah.
You can have a fixed number of episodes and it's good.
Yeah. Cause the length of old television seasons was dictated basically by the length of the year and wanting to have enough episodes that you only cycle through them, so often, and then getting enough for syndication. And those aren't really an issue anymore. Like, I mean, certainly not for anything on a streaming channel. Like, neither of those, that's not. So there's no reason for them to, try and do a 24 episode season. Like, that's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now what it is like get your story arcs and characters such that people like them enough that you can do spin-offs.
Yeah. Well, there's that too. Purely episodic television, like truly episodic television, is almost like entirely just gone. Mm-hmm. Like it's ongoing story arcs now. Like everything shifted. And again, I think that's at least in part because syndication and wanting to be able to get your stuff into reruns so you can make that syndication money is no longer a big deal, which, in that, like one of the things, and then also the ability to DVR stuff, to record and so forth. Because the big thing, used to be, well, you don't know, how often people are going to actually catch episodes, if they're going to get to see them in order. So you want it to make sense, even if they haven't seen any other episodes of the show. And that's, it's a reasonable assumption now that they have the ability to see everything leading up to this episode. So we can build on all of that and feel safe.
Well, and even television shows, or I mean, cable shows, have switched a lot of cases to a model where there's shorter sub-seasons. Mm-hmm. So like there'll be 2 seasons in a year that are connected, and there'll be like a gap in between them.
Yeah, I think like AMC is one of the first ones I remember doing that, because they did that with Breaking Bad. It's like Breaking Bad was, went for a while, and then once that season was over, they flipped to whatever the other show was. I don't remember any other shows. One of the biker gang shows, maybe. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, I think so. I do feel like TNT must like. I bet there's some old TNT execs that are just like kicking themselves on the regular for not treating Babylon 5 better.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because JMS got there so long ago. Like, he was there, and they just weren't ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, Babylon 5 was egregiously ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a tight story arc that had a beginning, middle, and an end.
Yep. Compelling characters, all of which have arcs, sometimes dramatic arcs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember Babylon 5 launching alongside Deep Space Nine, and I watched the first like 2 or 3 episodes of both and checked completely out of DS9 because Babylon 5 just blew it away.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember Deep Space Nine being on the wrong channel. Like, it was on CBS, I think, and I was expecting it to be on Fox.
Yeah.
And I think Bab 5 was like on UPN or something like that.
It was one of the original Paramount Network shows. So yeah, so really Paramount and TNT are both kicking themselves for losing that.
Like, as a kid, I watched a lot more UHF channels than I did VHF channels, largely because I just had better reception for UHF channels.
A lot of people are not going to have any idea what those words you just said mean.
I know.
We're old. So
We're
kids,
old.
back in the olden days, there were only, well, really you probably only had between 3 and 5 channels.
Depending on your network.
Depending on where you lived and what was nearby. And those are the channels that that had broadcast affiliates near you. And they would be channels between 2 and 13. And those were your VHF stations. But there was also UHF that went up to, I forget how high it originally went up to.
We had like a 47 was the highest
45?
one.
Yeah, it's like 40s, 50s, 60s. But it was a whole additional set of bands. And like for the longest time, what was there was like little local access stations. If you have ever seen the Weird Al movie UHF, that is what that is. Like,
yeah. That is the UHF of my childhood prior to Fox being a thing.
Yes, and the station that Al is running in that movie is only slightly more ludicrous than the actual UHF stations of that era.
Well, the station that he is running is a station here in town. Like, it was Channel 41. Like, the station UHF was filmed at was my Channel 41, aka the thing that was eventually UPN.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's a real channel. It's a real television station here.
That's awesome. But yeah, so how well those stations came in was entirely dependent on like how far away the broadcast antennas were for those stations, and like if you had mountains in the way. So it was entirely possible to live somewhere where you couldn't even get all 3 of the major networks. Like, I remember whenever we would go and visit my grandparents, at one set of grandparents' house, they could get, I want to say it was ABC and NBC, and then the other could get CBS and NBC.
Yes. So a lot of people watched whatever would come in clearly.
Yeah. Like, you didn't have a lot of choices. And then if you were really lucky and you lived in a big city, like, you might actually have some UHF stations that were like a big deal. And some of those are what became some of the original national cable networks.
Yep. TBS was originally just a Chicago station, I think.
WGN. Yeah, so a lot of those, like, they started out as local stations and then expanded. And we didn't have a lot of choice as to what we were watching on television when Val and I were kids.
I had an NBC affiliate, I had an ABC affiliate, I had a CBS affiliate, I had a PBS affiliate, I had a creepy ass religious channel.
Yeah, there was always one
and then there was what eventually became the Fox affiliate, what eventually became the UPN affiliate, and then another creepy ass religious channel.
So I had cable pretty early on. I don't remember much of what you're talking about.
I didn't have cable until I went to college.
What I remember was the glorious day in 1995 when I discovered that there was a new network called Cartoon Network.
Oh man,
I could not get Cartoon Network with our cable package.
Same.
It was amazing.
That's similar to me. I remember discovering the Comedy Channel when we were like in a hotel, and that's the first time I ever saw an episode of Mystery Science Theater back when it was still a Comedy Channel.
Yeah,
and then got home and we could get the Comedy Channel on our cable package. Just
well, and a lot of cable packages, like you got 8 channels or something like that, because like it was literally a push button box on top of the set.
Yes, with like 3 settings per button, and you had to these rocker switches. Nice wood grain finish on the box.
And then there were satellites.
Yep.
And I remember every time I'd go to a friend's house that had satellite, they didn't ever want to change satellites.
Gosh, no.
Because it would take like 15 minutes to switch satellites.
Yeah, no, that was...
Not
you needed to have a reason.
When that stopped being a thing was when we got satellite. So like late 90s.
Ooh, here's a fun old one. Did anyone ever try and play Direct Connect games of Warcraft 2?
Yes. I built a LAN in my house in college so we could play StarCraft and Warcraft 2.
I was going to ask if you ever got it to work. So I was trying to do this from house to house using dial-up internet.
So you could do it, but you needed a piece of software called Kali. And for years, I had a subscription to Kali, which was you had to buy it. And it was a IPX SPX emulator that ran on top of TCP/IP, so that you could play all these old games that only supported IPX SPX, which is basically Novell networks.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember it asked me for some IPX stuff, and I was like IP address?
No. You know what? You know what else supports those formats?
What?
BBS's?
Old hospital networks.
That
I couldn't get it to work. And my dad found out that he could route it through the same network that like my parents booted up DOS to do their charts in. Because
that's funny.
We had a really, really high-tech hospital at the time, so they could like remote in via DOS to do their charts at home, so they wouldn't have to sit in the office. It was real fancy.
There was a terminal app that we would run, and we would use it to dial into each other, and then it had the ability to emulate IPX SPX over the phone line. So you would have to like dial in, and then you'd have like basically a chat window where we could both chat to it. And we would use that to prep, and then we would both fire up Doom at the same time, and it would go out over the terminal session and connect up. But you could only like do 2-person. So we very rarely did deathmatch. We would usually do co-op. And because like it got real boring chasing each other around in deathmatch.
Let me tell you, the thing that really just completely unlocked internet gaming were those GameSpy servers.
Yeah.
So many things could finally be played over the internet through using GameSpy.
Yeah, before, like, when that was a thing, we were already hosting our own servers at that point. Like, somebody would host a server out of their house, and then we'd all connect to that. Whoever had the fastest dial-up.
And then, as I recall, Counter-Strike had it just built in.
Yep. It was also one of the first things I ever played that had voice chat just built in.
Counter-Strike had voice chat built in?
It did. At least by the time Counter-Strike reached the orange box era of Counter-Strike.
Oh, yeah. No, I stopped playing before then. I stopped playing when they added shields. That would be patch 1.6, which I understand is... Like, the game hasn't evolved that much and people still play on 1.6.
I believe it.
But I mostly played on 1.4 and 1.5. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Must see TV.
We were talking about old people stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to use this as a crude segue. I really desperately want someone to come along and make a high budget, short run television series of Mass Effect. I have always thought this was just prime territory for a series, and it is only more evident now that I'm playing it again because Mass Effect Legendary Edition came out.
Mm-hmm. Well, we might actually be swinging back around to an interest in science fiction science fiction television again. I don't know.
Like, once you can get past the kludge of the interface, Mass Effect 1 is a really solid story.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's really tight. I played Mass Effect 2 first. So, like, by the time I went back to try and play Mass Effect 1, it felt awful already. But, like, the Legendary Edition is good enough to not have to fight with it.
I was going to say, is the interface still kludgy?
It is not as good as, like, Mass Effect 2, but it is significantly better.
The original.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's where you point them now, for one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a huge step up.
Like, you can tell
it really
that
wants you to shoot guns more than use powers.
It really does.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Which is fine for me because I mostly played Mass Effect as a shooter. But
that was what they marketed it as.
When you move over to Mass Effect 2, you can take your import and change what classification you were if you really want powers at that point. Because Mass Effect 2 is the game where powers are good. I have now played through the first, all the way through. I made a decision I have never made, and I immediately regretted it.
But this involved Rex and telling you you're wrong.
No. Always got to save Rex. It's choosing to save Caden over. Yeah, I guess we should. I guess we should do spoilers.
Yeah, FYI, Mass Effect spoilers for all the new people who may be playing it for the first time. Listening to the show.
I was about to say, how old is this game? But okay, yeah, that's probably are people actually playing it for the first time.
Neff has never played it.
It's old enough that there are people now who were not yet born when it came out who could reasonably be playing it. So,
but there's a significant decision at some point in the game, and I chose a different option than I normally do, and I mostly regret it because I have decided I just don't like Raphael Sabarge. I just don't. Like, I really just don't like Raphael Sabarge.
I mean, they're both terrible, so...
I mean, they're both terrible, but there's one that I can tell off and feel good about it.
I don't like either of them.
Okay, I guess, yeah. One is actively terrible, but you can, like, get onto them about it, and the other is just boring.
Right. Like, it is cathartic to always be yelling about them for being terrible. The other one's just a wet blanket character.
I don't know. One of them has, as I saw somebody commenting, one of them has the best story arc in the game. They're a horrific, virulent space racers, and then they get nuked.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, it's true. But, like, you can keep feeling good about telling them off. So, like, they kind of play a purpose. The other one, if you're at all a decent human being with them, they mistake it for romance.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you move on to Mass Effect 2, and you can just like not have to deal with either of them anymore. You can whichever one of them is still around, you can just put them in a corner and ignore them.
Right. Like, that's one thing I had forgotten is...
Humans are much better in Mass Effect 2.
Humans are much better in Mass Effect 2, but also it's a really long time until you can just run with a full alien party.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And that's who I recruited first, is an alien party.
Yeah, because the aliens are interesting. We like them.
Right, because we're not virulent space racists.
Mass Effect 2 is one of the very first times I can remember, like, crying over things happening in a game.
Oh man, I've got a long list.
Like, I mean, I can remember games earlier than that got me attached to characters and then, made me regret becoming attached to them because it tore my heart out. I mean, hell, Infocom did it to me. It's a text game. They still did it to me. But like, Planescape Torment did a good job tugging on emotions.
Mass Effect was
big, though.
Mass Effect was a big one. Well, Mass Effect is also...
The fidelity increase with Mass Effect 2 is noticeable.
It's huge.
Like, I was not prepared. Like, okay, so I've been playing a prettier version of Mass Effect 1. So I was like, oh, okay, this is probably fine. But no, it's massively, massively better in storytelling and everything in Mass Effect 2.
Oh, it's super refined.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was playing through Mass Effect 1, I made the mistake of saying, I don't necessarily see what a big improvement playing FemShep is over HimShep.
Everybody came for you.
Oh, they did. They absolutely did. But like
everyone disliked that.
But like, really, it's okay. So like, I skip a fair amount of dialogue. I just straight up do because I read faster than they talk.
I mean, I guess if you're skipping all the dialogue, I guess I can see how.
But even at that,
Fine.
like, the difference between the two characters in Mass Effect 1 isn't as pronounced as I was expecting. The difference in them in Mass Effect 2 is huge.
Yes. Well, so and part of it, and part of it is like over the course of the series, like I forget the name of the male voice actor.
I was going to say I don't even remember who voiced the male Shepard, but Jennifer Hale is amazing.
Yeah, but like
I mean, he also improves over the course of the series.
He also improve.
But like his delivery of the character of Shepard is this lovable goofball kind of character that, like, I mean, doesn't really exude confidence.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that. You know, Andromeda is the same thing, but like with the actual direction of your protagonist is a lovable goofball who's in over their head. And like it works there.
Right. And it doesn't work quite so much in well, because Mark Meir plays it as this, lovable goofball kind of accidental hero kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas, Jennifer Hale plays the character that you would expect of this person who is so skilled that they're the first Spectre in human history.
Yeah, like you're already a grizzled veteran when you start the game, and I believe it when it's Jennifer Hale.
And that is really noticeable in 2, the difference between the delivery. In the first game, I would say they both kind of give a flat delivery. It's not as... And it may just be that, like, the sound editing wasn't as good at that point, so it's not quite as matched up and perfectly syncopated. But, like, with the second game, it's real noticeable. Like, Jennifer Hale can even make the I'm Commander Shepard and this is my favorite store on the Citadel sound competent.
I'm really glad you gave it a try.
Citadel is fair.
I had just never played a female Shepard up to this point, and I went with the vanilla model because I can remember when I played Mass Effect 2 for the first time, I tried to customize my Shepard, and it was a cavalcade of horrors every time there was a cutscene.
Yeah.
So we're just like, no, we're just going to go vanilla. It'll be fine. I like red-haired protagonists. It's fine. It's freaking great, though. Like, I mean, I've played through this game so many times over the years, and it still feels fresh.
Yeah, I took a week off to move, and a part of that week after unpacking is going to be Mass Effect Legendary, because, yeah.
My only complaint so far is I don't know why they didn't just release it as 3 separate games that you could launch on your own, but instead there's this weird
launcher that launches all 3 games.
Right, exactly. It's this awkward launcher, and then there's always some weirdness when it tries to execute the individual game as it's passing the process handle over to it.
Mm-hmm. I thought we were done with like launchers for non-MMOs.
I mean, it is the equivalent. It is the equivalent of a 90s DVD menu.
Exactly. Although, to be fair, even if you launch it from Steam, it also launches Origin.
Mm.
Which, okay, that's a whole other complaint I have, is I installed something off of Xbox Game Pass that I did not realize was an EA Pass title, and it ended up installing this stupid thing called EA Desktop as a result, which apparently conflicts with Origin. You can't have both running at the same time.
Oh, no.
So if I'm not watching it, I'll have EA Desktop running in the background, and it precludes me from launching Mass Effect, which requires Origin. We're not in a great state right now.
Hilariously, it makes it actually easier to open it up, play it by opening up Origin and launching it from that, because it will let you do that.
Right, exactly. Like, I am kind of thankful that's an option, because even if you install it through Steam, it still registers it through Origin.
So here's my question. Can I take my Mass Effect 2 Legendary Edition save and import it into Frog Fractions 2?
No.
I have no idea.
If you can't now,
you can't take your original saves and import them into this, however. So it's probably a different format.
I think there's actually a tool on Nexus Mods that lets you convert them.
Okay.
I've already installed a mod. I lasted like a day before.
Mod, right?
Yeah, it's the FOV mod. Just so it zooms the character out a bit. Because it's real claustrophobic feeling in Mass Effect 1. I am hoping somebody does the any companion can be romance mod, because there's not a lot of options in Mass Effect 1.
Well, One of the ones that you might be interested in eventually unlocks, because in my first playthrough, I romanced Tally.
Tally doesn't unlock until the second game.
Yep.
And only if you're male.
I was going to say, I don't think Tally's into the ladies.
Yeah, but for Andromeda, they've released patches that it's just like, anybody could be romanced by anybody else. Have at it.
I mean, their initial romance choices for Andromeda were bad, if I remember correctly.
That is correct, yes.
They were heavily skewed towards one specific kind of playthrough. But right now, when I was in earlier, before I got pulled onto a conference call, I was recruiting the Convict, which is one of my favorite characters.
Mass Effect 2's humans were so much better than Mass Effect 1's.
They really were. I never played with humans in Mass Effect 1. I was pretty much either Liara and Tali, or Liara and Rex, or Rex and Tali. I never ran with Garrus for whatever reason.
Not Garrus?
Oh,
Garrus
mostly because he's a gunner boy, and I'm also a gunner boy. So, not gunner boy, but...
Garrus is so good.
Seriously, yeah. Garrus and Rex.
Yeah,
I remember Kelly not being great in Mass Effect 1. And I remember Rex being amazing.
Yes.
Rex is so good. I
like Garrus and Liara in Mass Effect 1.
Yep.
Garrus is just very funny.
Mass Effect 2 has one of my favorite characters who gets nowhere near enough screen time in the series, but is so great.
Yeoman Kelly?
The what?
Yeoman Kelly? I like Yeoman Kelly.
But the character who was originally DLC.
Yeah, no,
Kasumi?
Master Thief, Kasumi Goto. She is amazing.
Yes, I already have Kasumi.
She's so good. She's hilarious.
I thought
it's real weird
DLC
playing.
was a lot of fun.
it's real weird playing through with just all the DLC enabled, because you basically go after whatever the hell you want at any given time.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, you set foot on the Citadel for the very first time, and oh hey, there's Kasumi.
Nice. When I get to Mass Effect 2, my goal is to go on every mission with a different set of characters, like a different mix, because they all chat with each other.
I mean, I feel like the Merc is the only one I'm not compelled to do that with.
Even he is funny. Mostly because almost every other character just trashes on him.
What's so weird about that character, though, is it is... Okay, so Kasumi and the Merc, and I can't even think of his name right now.
Zaid
Musani. They're both DLC characters, but there's a vast difference in the kind of DLC character they are. Like, Kasumi blends into the world. Like, if you did not know she was a DLC character, you wouldn't really be able to tell that she was a DLC character.
I mean, they're kind of similar in that they don't have a whole lot to say on the ship unless you examine things in their room. They're both fully functional throughout the game as far as bonus dialogue and things like that. And they both have, like, their one loyalty mission, although Kasumi's is way better than Zaid's is.
Yes, Kasumi's is a really good loyalty mission.
Kasumi's is so great. I love Kasumi so much.
I don't know, Zaid just feels kind of cardboardish. Okay, I can go to his room, and I can ask him to tell me a story 3 times, and then he's going to tell me he's done for the day.
Like, if you bring him on, I believe you can have him for the first, like, mission where you're recruiting the Archangel.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of dialogue in that mission.
I don't know if I've ever tried that. I'm going to have to try that.
Because you recruit him, like, right there in the entrance. So you basically you have to turn around and eat.
Yeah, as soon as you're in Omega, he's there.
But if you do bring him on that mission, he's got a lot to say since, you know, he was kind of with the Blue Suns.
I didn't do that. I like Jacob. And
I do
Miranda
like
is okay. Miranda has some abilities I liked to have in the party at that time. She could do Overload.
I mean, Jacob has Lift, which is also fun.
God, I forgot how good Lift is. Just watching poor enemies float by.
It's funnier if you yourself have Warp.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, like, and you can go into the settings and toggle them to just, like, do their own thing. I don't want to micromanage their abilities. So I don't know when they're going to make a balloon out of someone.
Somebody's just floating by sometimes.
It's so hilarious. You're just in a mission and whoop, there's a guy floating.
Jacob's lines for it are hilarious too.
As a Biotic player myself, I love seeing that because I know I'm going to get to hear that oh so satisfying whip crack explosion when I hit them with push.
Throw.
Yeah. That thing's going to...
I feel like I remember pull and throw not causing an explosion in Mass Effect 2, but tremendously magnifying the force of throw or something.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure in Mass Effect 2 they just go skyrocketing up into the air.
I can hear that biotic combo explosion in my head almost as clearly as I can hear the cheap shot sound.
So I have to say, Mass Effect 2's hacking minigame is my favorite hacking minigame in any game. The one where you basically match up segments of color-coded code. I don't know why, it just makes me happy. It feels like I'm using Visual Studio. Like, that's believable. That's what code looks like.
I like to think of it as you copy-pasting code from Stack Overflow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I took these 3 articles and made a lockpicker out of them. I mean, honestly, the 2 minigames aren't bad in Mass Effect 2. The connect the circuits one's pretty fun.
I mean, they both beat that ring around the circle thing in Mass Effect 1. That's for sure.
Yes, that was horrible. I forgot about that. My goal quickly became converting enough to Omnigel just so I had enough of a surplus to push my way through with auto hack.
There are jokes about that in Mass Effect 2.
Probably my least favorite hacking minigame is Fallout's. With the exception that Fallout, you can always just back out over and over and over when there's just one attempt left. I've been super lazy in Fallout 76, and a lot of times I just open it up, try a word. If I don't get it again, back out, open it up, try a word. If I don't get it, back out. So Demon's Soul Remake.
Yeah. I got a PS5, and I needed to play something on it, and
you needed a game to justify its existence.
Yeah, and so I started Demon's Souls Remake, which is why I haven't gotten to Returnal yet. But I'm getting pretty far in it. I have managed to beat 5 bosses now. The first boss of every zone except for the lizard people area, and then also the Tower Knight. And let me tell you, Tower Knight is a much more enjoyable boss experience when you're trying to do it with melee.
Were you doing it as a caster previously?
Well, previously I was doing it with a bow and arrow.
Doesn't sound fun at all.
I didn't think that was correct for Demon's Souls.
On Tower Knight?
In general.
It might not be. It might, like, magic might be the correct answer, but Tower Knight is one of those classic fights where they're like, if you haven't gotten good, maybe you should just stick up to the balcony and plink away at it with a bow and arrow.
That sounds boring.
Yeah. And so instead you go down and you get into this big fight where you hack at its ankles until it falls over, and then you go around and hack at its head. It's a cool fight. It's definitely the first fight in that game that if you are going to do it in melee, you really do not want to be locked on to any part of that monster. You just have to fight it without being locked on. But one of the things I did was I did beat where I got stopped in my previous playthrough, which was the Prison of Hope. And one of my comments when I heard about this game was, boy, I really hope they do a lot of work on Prison of Hope, because that layout is miserable. And the layout is unchanged. I am glad I never have to go in there again. It's a bunch of, it is a multi-level prison. There are 2 cell blocks, effectively, east and west, and there are 4 levels to those cell blocks, and they are all a long rectangular hallway with cells on the outer end of the hallway and a pit you can fall to your death in the middle of the cell area. And you're sort of just wandering around these, and it is so easy to lose track of where you are in this place.
And isn't the fight there where you're basically chasing someone through this maze?
No. That's a different fight, I believe.
Okay.
No. Eventually you fight the Fool's Idol, or the Idol of Fools at the end, which is an interesting fight in that she does generate a maze of electric pentagrams on the ground, and you have to try and avoid getting shocked by the pentagrams because she also clones herself, and her clones will all cast magic at you. So you have to figure out the right one to attack. It's a whole thing. I eventually got through it. And I think one of my big complaints, one of the big things I think this game has improved on in the intervening time is Estus flasks should be a limited resource that consume refreshes at bonfires or rest points, not items you farm for.
Yes, it's true. The makers of Dark Souls agree with you.
Yeah.
Although not for the reason you think.
Well, I'm curious why they think that's the correct way to do it.
I mean, their thinking was, I believe, if I remember correctly, that it was too easy to
just
bypass basically anything by farming up sufficient grass.
Yeah, but I don't want to farm up sufficient grass. Oh. Yeah, I can understand where they might come to that conclusion, but that's a bad conclusion to come to.
I don't think it's an incorrect conclusion.
It's probably not an incorrect conclusion. And there is a very good answer if you do need to farm up grass, which is once you've beaten the Tower Knight, you go start at the Tower Knights area, and then you can fight 2 blue-eyed knights, and the 2 blue-eyed knights will probably drop 2 herbs.
I should play this game some more. I just have time.
Yeah, and if you do, let me know, and I will come help you out once I figure out how that works. It also
I don't know how that works.
Has a thing in it, which is the world tendency, which is one of the more counterintuitive. Like, I don't understand it at all.
Isn't it, if you die a lot, it makes things harder?
Well, no. If you die as a human a lot, it makes things harder.
Right, because there's the human and shade form thing.
Yup.
But really, I'm just resigned to be a shade all the time.
Yeah, that's mostly where I'm at. I think you can also improve by doing, like, maybe by helping people out, you can make the world tendency more white. I don't know. Or maybe your character tendency becomes more white. Yeah, but becoming...
It's unintuitive.
It's
Extremely
unintuitive. So. But yeah, it's a fun game. I am enjoying it.
So I'm going to go ahead and blend into this topic, but we may not hit all of it. If you thought Dark Knights were going to be edgelords, I think we're about to get invaded by the edgiest edgelords ever.
Reapers.
Yeah.
Also, all the bunny boys.
Yeah, all the Reaper bunny boys.
So many bunny boy Reapers running around. It's going to be a thing.
I'm all on board with bunny boys, but like the fact that they probably won't have beards is going to keep me from playing them.
Yes, once again, the Final Fantasy XIV dev team reminded us like that they're just awesome.
The trailer in its full version is spectacular. Also, whales.
Into it.
Whale.
Yeah.
It's about time we got the lunar whale.
I need to catch up because I am so far behind.
Yeah, I do too. I'm just in front of like the dungeon that went in between the second and third part of Eden. So I've got a little bit to catch up on.
Oh, there's still some good stuff there.
Yeah, I'm behind and haven't caught up just because I've had so much else going on. But at some point, I'm going to sit down and play some catch up.
I mean, it's shipping in fall, right?
November.
Yeah.
Okay. So later than usual.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a summer patch.
No. But we're also going to get to see, well, I mean, there's always the usual new places, but we get to see places that we've heard a lot about, but have never been able to go to. So that's going to be cool.
We finally get to go to Charlene.
Yeah.
The cities look badass.
Yeah.
We can eat some of that delicious Archon toast.
No, if I'm going to eat from anywhere, it's going to be Razadhan. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Wait a second.
Probably not.
Isn't there one with like really good spices?
Razadhan is the crafty one.
In Thavnir.
Yeah. Super colorful.
Yeah.
Which one?
Razadhan. Yeah.
Okay, it is Razadhan that has like great food and spices and also crafting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
I mean, there's more than just quenching oil.
That's definitely what I think of first, though.
Yep.
Fair.
I mean, we're going to Garlemald, Razadhan, the Moon.
Yep.
Charlene. Where else? Am I missing something?
I feel like that's all that they've... I mean, there's going to be something else because there's always a secret zone.
Yeah.
But they don't tell us what it is ahead of time.
Right.
And we can be Gundams and we can be Reapers.
Yes.
I did not watch the whole show, but I did catch up the day after from Nova Crystallis or whatever that site's called.
Mm-hmm.
It's always pretty fun to watch it live, and I still feel pretty bad for Yoshi P suffering in his Reaper costume. He looked like he was just like sweating constantly, profusely, terribly.
Yeah, they did not look like comfortable under stage lights.
No, it was very thick looking. It's a cool looking class though. Like it's melee, but you've got a sort of kind of pet also ability thing. It will be interesting.
It's extremely not for me, but also I'm glad that so many people are excited about it. Like, it's a really cool aesthetic. And hey, fight with a scythe. How can you not like that?
Yeah, it's not quite my aesthetic, but I'm still curious about it, and I mean, I'll try it for sure.
I mean, I may be edgelordy enough to play it. I don't know.
I'm sure I'll probably try it and enjoy it and play it a bit, but we'll see. We'll see.
I don't know if I'm gonna do the Scholar Summoner thing again. I need to see some pretty radical button shifts. I keep on playing it, and I keep on regretting my choice.
I think I need to just embrace the fact that I'm most likely going to play Samurai.
Samurai is so fun.
I always try and main warrior, but then it's hard for me to keep up.
Samurai is pretty fun.
Samurai is fun. Black Mage is fun.
Red Mage is shockingly fun. Like I mean, me who does not like casters likes Red Mage.
I'm still maining Red Mage on my one character, so yeah, definitely fully support that one. I've been playing Bard a lot lately too.
Hey, Bard.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's not as flashy and pretty as Dancer, but I still just really like how it plays.
I think I would like Bard a lot more if it were more straight bow.
I've been playing a bit of Machinist, which I'm enjoying.
I'm actually kind of surprised I'm not playing Machinist more, but I guess there's just something about Bard that I've been really digging this expansion.
I mean, they gave us our mobility back, and that was huge.
I feel so bad, but Bard will never not be Hufflepuff to me. And I can blame Grace for that.
Why is that?
You know, the I'm a Hufflepuff comedy video? We were both playing Bard at the same time. It's like, I'm a Bard! And it suddenly became synonymous with Hufflepuff because there's so many bad Bards in the game. Thalen is not one of them. Thalen is amazing.
This is apparently just like my thing, is to pick the class that all of the bad players pick and then have to like work extra hard.
Yeah,
I'm not one of those.
Yeah.
You're not one of those AFK hunters.
Thalen is pretty much good at anything he plays. You exude competence, sir.
Indeed.
At least I'm fooling everybody. I rarely feel that competent. But I guess I'm putting up a good facade.
So we started recording kind of late, so we probably have enough to squeeze this next one in. PSO New Genesis Beta. Did not last very long.
I was going to say, I didn't have to play nearly enough of that as much of that as I wanted to.
Right?
It's already over? Man.
Yeah,
it was only just 2 days.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, so I totally missed it. Oh, well.
I really like the open world. I forgot that there's the special aiming mode for Rangers, and I probably would have liked playing it better if I remembered that.
I played a bunch of PSO2 when we were all playing it before, and it never quite clicked for me. Like, something about how disconnected the storytelling and then the, like, mission to base to mission, but run around, and it felt very, like, chores-y to me to talk to all of the people, go do your mission, come back and talk to all of the people without any, like, narrative structure driving it. And then it just felt really disconnected. Whereas I dropped into this and was like, yes, this is a game I want to play. Just instantly. I even played the Gunner, and I didn't like the Gunner in PSO2 base. And I was running around with it. I was like, this is so fun.
I feel like I maybe should have tried the Fighter, because I liked the idea of the Fighter, but I didn't really enjoy playing it in PSO2.
What I played of it, I didn't like Ranger as much in New Genesis as I like it in base PSO2. But again, I forgot there's the thing you do with your camera where you basically turn it into FPS mode.
Yeah, I feel like that would be really important for that class.
It is.
You're always important for my enjoyment Ranger in PSO2.
You're always the wrong direction if you're not using it.
That was the only class I played on on mouse and keyboard in PSO2.
I'm a little sad that Braver?
Yeah, Braver didn't make the cut. Bouncer didn't make the cut. Summoner didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I'm a little sad about those.
Yeah.
If you liked any of the hero classes, none of those made the cut either.
I never played any of the hero classes. I guess they got patched into PSO2?
Yeah, they got patched into PSO2. Yeah. Probably after you stopped playing.
Yeah, after I stopped playing. Whatever. I won't find out what I'm missing.
Like, do we know if they intend to reintroduce them at some point in the future?
I have no idea.
This is weird. It feels very much to me less like a whole new version of PSO2 and more like an alternate game mode.
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's plussed up about it. I don't think it's quite FF7 to FF7 Remake jump, but it definitely feels to me like, I just blanked on it. It feels like a solid remaster. And one of those remasters where they could go back and do things the way they originally intended, even if the tech wouldn't have allowed it in the first place. Where it's this was our vision, but we had to compromise it, so now we can do it proper. Or at least get closer to the original vision or whatever. And I don't think that's necessarily true of PSO2, but it definitely has that kind of feel to it. But yeah, I'm super excited to give it a more proper try when it comes out.
Well, and it's coming out this summer at some point, I think.
Something like that.
So I'll definitely give it a spin when it comes out. Any final thoughts? We should probably wrap it.
Biomutant comes out next week.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Which one?
I hope it's good.
Biomutant.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically what if you took the Palladium TMNT game and made it into an open world adventure RPG thingy.
Yeah,
you can be all kinds of different kinds of mutants, and they all mean something. It's not just cosmetic.
Can I be an aardvark?
I don't know if you can get something that looks like an aardvark. They're mostly nondescript furry things.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be expansions that let you be nondescript scaly things. It looks really freaking good. I went in and pre-ordered mostly to unlock the DLC class. Because after release, they'll just sell it to you.
I mean, it's apparently unlockable later in the game regardless.
Yeah.
But sure, if you want it on character creation, you can pre-order, I guess.
It's kind of a jack of all trades type class. So if you want to,
which there already is one of. So again, I'm not sure the utility of this thing.
Because I kind of want to do a little guns and a little melee. I think I'll have to see the game before I really decide whether I like the melee or the guns better.
Oh, interesting. It's not coming out on PS5 till later.
I have no idea what the cross-play climate is going to look like for this game, or if there will be one.
I mean, you mentioned PS5. There's kind of been a whole thing just recently, because they announced that it's going to be upscaled 1080p on the PS5. And a whole lot of people are real angry about that on the internet. Because,
PS5 is supposed to be a 4K console.
Some sort of technical issues.
For Biomutant specifically?
Yeah, the THQ Nordic has announced that they'll be disabling 4K at launch for technical reasons. So, I mean, the implication is once they get it straightened out, there will be a patch, and then full 4K will be active. But the usual suspects were displeased.
I mean, the console in general doesn't have a lot of native games right now.
No.
But, I mean, I think it technically has more than the Xbox Series S.
Oh,
probably.
This is a generation that maybe should have waited for a bit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they could have waited until they had more games for the consoles, and also until they had more consoles to sell. So,
Weird news I heard this week is that okay, like it's a twofold announcement. One, Intel is planning on releasing graphics cards to compete with NVIDIA, but also NVIDIA is planning on releasing ARM processors to compete with Intel and Ryzen.
Oh boy.
So, that whole silicon shortage is just going to get worse.
Yeah.
As people create more and more products. I mean, there's the most surreal thing that I've seen so far as an illustration of the silicon shortage is like I don't know what kind of lot it is, but it's a giant lot at a Ford factory that has like 1,000 F-150s sitting there that can't do anything because they have no computers to put in them.
Yeah. No, we just bought a new vehicle not quite a month ago now. And we ended up not getting our first pick of color because they had one of the proper color on the way, but it was probably going to be a few months before it could actually be like, fully put together and ready to take off the lot because no chippy.
Yeah.
Or we could take the green one that they actually had that, was working and had, basically everything we wanted.
I'm getting a shocking amount of creepy calls and text messages of people wanting to buy my car. Because apparently shortages on car lots for used cars is also a thing. We're living in weird times.
Yep.
Also, Elon Musk tanked Bitcoin?
Yep. It's clearly a legitimate currency because, one dude saying a thing could cut its value in like half. And
I feel like there are other reasons for that.
Yeah. I think it was more the China saying, this stuff is technically like verboten here. Just, reminding you. And,
they have their own digital currency.
Yeah, and it uses up all the SSDs and magnetic drives. It uses them both. But yeah, it's like, does it really matter that Intel and NVIDIA are both going to start making each other's products? They're all going to get bought by crypto miners anyway.
No. NVIDIA is going to save us by, releasing graphics cards with bad hash rates.
Yeah, too bad they already leaked the firmware that fixes that.
But they're doing it again. This is a different batch. It'll work this time. I swear.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'd love it if I could, maybe actually replace my 1070 sometime this decade. But, I'll believe when I see it.
I'm glad I have as good a graphics card as I do. I'm just thankful I have a 1080 Ti. It's still reasonable because God knows I wouldn't want to buy it right now.
Yeah. I mean, heck, I'm glad I got the 1070 when I got it because the card I had before that, I'm pretty sure it just wouldn't be able to handle newer stuff at this point.
That's the thing that's scary is 10 series prices have gone up astronomically, but also now
better than that.
Also now the 9 series is starting to go up. People buying 980 Ti's because it's a card.
Maybe I should pull that old card off the shelf and see if I can sell it for more than I paid for it.
I was gonna say I have a 970 sitting in a computer here, not doing anything.
Yeah, I've got the 9. I think it's a 960 that I replaced. That was in the computer before this. I've still got it. If somebody wants it.
The other day I was looking and 980s were going for $300 to $400.
Oh wow, that's painful.
Yikes!
I mean, it's as competent as a lot of the other cards you can buy.
Yeah.
But that's the scary thing is people are selling low-end graphic cards for stupid amount of money because it's a graphics card. And if you bought a Ryzen processor, you don't have one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still sitting on a 1080, 1070, one of those two.
I thought you got a 30-something for Christmas.
I do. I have one that's sitting around not being used.
Why?
No. My 1070 is not being used because I upgraded.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought you were saying your 3070 isn't being used.
No.
Why?
That went in immediately.
Okay.
That's even more of a travesty than the fact that I'm not really playing my PS5.
No, if you got a 1070 that you don't need, like I bet you could very quickly like turn that around for way more than you originally paid for it.
But the problem is, in all these situations, you can sell a house real quick, you can sell a car real quick, you can sell a graphics card real quick, but you sure as hell can't really buy one.
Nope. Yep. If you've got one you don't need, yeah, you're in great shape. Sure hope you don't, need one.
Don't flip without buying the other one first.
Yes, that was definitely one of the things that was very scary going into the house buying prospect, is trying to make sure I didn't get myself in that situation. Because I know people who are in that situation.
Oh.
And you didn't want to live in a hotel.
Correct.
Okay. I think we probably really should cut it off at this point.
I suppose.
Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we may see you next week. Who knows? My life could be cantankerous.
Hopefully it is not.
Hopefully it is not.
Yes.
This was fun.
Yeah, it was. Night, folks.
Good night.
Good night.
All.
Good night.
See ya.